You wake up every day with two versions of yourself staring back at you. The one that's capable, disciplined, and relentless, and the one that makes excuses, avoids discomfort, and plays small. The truth is, most people spend their lives negotiating with that weaker version, letting it whisper doubts into their minds, convincing them to stay where it's safe, where it's comfortable. But if you want to achieve anything extraordinary, if you want to break out of mediocrity, you have to start by recognizing with brutal honesty what's holding you back. It's easy to lie to yourself. It's easy to say you'll start tomorrow, that you're doing your best, that your failures are someone else's fault. But deep down, if you're willing to sit in silence and listen, you already know what's limiting you. Maybe it's fear, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping into the unknown. Maybe it's laziness disguised as waiting for the right time. Maybe it's that inner voice that tells you you're not smart enough, strong enough, or talented enough. Whatever it is, you have to face it. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. Because here's the hard truth. You cannot change what you refuse to confront. And the reason so many people stay stuck in the same patterns year after year isn't because they're incapable. It's because they refuse to acknowledge the weight they're carrying. They distract themselves with entertainment, with social media, with anything that keeps them from sitting alone with their own thoughts. Because when you do that, when you truly sit with yourself, you have to face the uncomfortable reality that you are responsible for where you are right now. That's a tough pill to swallow. But it's also liberating, because if you are responsible, that means you have the power to change it. So what does this look like in real life? It means dissecting yourself the way a scientist studies a specimen. If you procrastinate, ask yourself why. Is it because you're afraid of failing? Is it because deep down you don't believe you deserve success? If you constantly start things and never finish, what's the pattern? Are you addicted to the excitement of a new beginning, but unwilling to endure the grind that success requires? If you constantly feel like you're not good enough, where did that belief come from? Who planted it in your mind, and why are you still carrying it? And once you identify those weaknesses, you don't just acknowledge them, you go to war with them. You expose them. You drag them into the light and dissect them until they lose their grip on you, because the more you ignore them, the stronger they become. Weakness thrives in the shadows. It feeds off of avoidance, off of excuses, off of the comforting lie that you'll deal with it later. But later never comes. The only time you have is now. There's no room for self-pity in this process. There's no room for blaming your parents, your boss, society, or bad luck. That weak version of you wants to play the victim because the victim has no power. The victim doesn't have to change. The victim gets to sit there, arms crossed, waiting for life to magically improve. But that's not reality. No one is coming to save you. No one is going to do the work for you. The moment you stop waiting for some external force to fix your life is the moment you take back your power. The world will try to sell you an easier path. It will tell you that self-love means accepting yourself exactly as you are. And while there's value in recognizing your worth, don't let that become an excuse for staying the same. If you know you're capable of more, if you know there's another level inside you that you haven't reached yet, then true self-love isn't about comfort, it's about discipline. It's about pushing yourself, holding yourself to a higher standard, demanding more from your own existence. So this is your moment. No more running, no more hiding. Look at yourself, not the version you post online, not the version you present to your friends, but the real, unfiltered, unpolished you. Acknowledge what's weak, acknowledge what's broken, and then make a decision. Either let that version of you keep running your life, or stand up right now and say, enough. This ends today. Life is unfair. That's a fact. People will betray you. Circumstances will work against you. You will face obstacles that seem impossible to overcome. And in those moments, when everything feels stacked against you, you have a choice. You can either sink into self-pity, blaming the world for your misfortune, or you can stand up and take ownership of your life. But you cannot do both. The victim mindset is seductive. It whispers in your ear that nothing is your fault, that the system is rigged, that you were dealt a bad hand. And maybe you were. Maybe you've faced struggles most people can't even imagine. But here's the harsh truth. Sitting around complaining about it will never make your life better. Wishing things were different won't change a thing. Blaming others might feel good in the short term, but it will never give you power. Because the moment you label yourself a victim, you surrender control. You hand over the keys to your own destiny and tell the world, you're in charge. I am powerless. But you are not powerless. You never were. What you are is afraid. Afraid to admit that the reason you're not where you want to be isn't just because of bad luck or external circumstances. It's because you haven't taken full responsibility. And responsibility is terrifying because it means there's no one left to blame. It means that every choice, every action, every result, good or bad, is on you. But it's also the most liberating realization you'll ever have. Because if your situation is your responsibility, then you have the power to change it. People who are stuck in the victim mindset don't want to hear this. They cling to their excuses like a shield because without them, they'd have to face the reality that they've been in their own way all along. They'd have to confront the fact that they have wasted years waiting for someone to rescue them instead of picking themselves up and doing the work. And that's an uncomfortable truth to face. But it's necessary. Because the moment you stop feeling sorry for yourself is the moment you start building the life you actually want. That doesn't mean ignoring your struggles. It doesn't mean pretending that life is fair or that your pain isn't real. But it does mean refusing to let those things define you. You can either use your pain as an excuse or as fuel. You can either let it break you or let it forge you into something stronger. The choice is yours. But make no mistake, if you choose to wallow, if you choose to believe that the world owes you something, you will never be free. Because there will always be something to blame. The government, your parents, your past, your genetics. And the longer you sit in that mindset, the weaker you become. You've seen people like this, the ones who spend their whole lives bitter, angry at the world, convinced that life has conspired against them. They stay stuck in the same patterns year after year, never growing, never improving, because they refuse to take responsibility. That's a tragedy. Because the truth is, they were capable of so much more, but they let their circumstances define them instead of rising above them. They let their suffering be an excuse instead of a reason to get stronger. You don't have to be one of those people. You don't have to let your past dictate your future. You don't have to let setbacks break you. You can take every single thing that has ever hurt you, every failure, every betrayal, every injustice, and turn it into something that fuels you. You can let it make you wiser, tougher, more disciplined. You can use it as proof that no matter what happens, you are still standing. And that's what this comes down to. Standing up, refusing to let life beat you down, refusing to wait for some magical moment when everything falls into place. That moment isn't coming. No one is going to hand you success. No one is going to come along and fix your problems for you. It's on you. And deep down, you know it. So stop telling yourself the story that you are a victim. Stop looking for pity, for validation, for reasons to stay the same. Rip that weak, powerless version of yourself out by the roots. Replace it with someone who refuses to break, someone who refuses to quit, someone who looks every obstacle in the face and says, I am bigger than this, I am stronger than this, and I will not be stopped. Comfort is a slow poison. It doesn't hit you all at once. It doesn't announce itself as the thing that's holding you back. No, it comes disguised as a warm bed when you should be up working. It whispers to you that you've done enough for today, that you can start tomorrow, that maybe you don't really need to push so hard. And before you know it, days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and suddenly you're looking at a life that feels stagnant, unfulfilled, because you traded your potential for what was easy. But deep down, you know the truth. You weren't made for a life of comfort. You weren't put here just to wake up, go through the motions, distract yourself with entertainment, and repeat the same cycle over and over until you die. There is something inside you that wants more. That version of you, the one with discipline, the one with drive, the one who refuses to settle, is being suffocated by your addiction to comfort. And if you don't break free, if you don't take control, you will never become who you were meant to be. The problem is that comfort feels good. It's tempting to take the easy road, to avoid stress, to avoid challenge. But here's what people don't understand. Comfort doesn't stay neutral. It decays. It atrophies. The more you indulge in it, the weaker you become. The more you avoid difficulty, the softer your mind gets. The more you let yourself off the hook, the harder it becomes to step up when life demands it, and life will demand it. One day, something will happen, a crisis, a setback, a moment where you're tested, and if you've spent your life hiding from discomfort, you'll break because you never built the strength to endure it. But there is another way. You can choose hardship before it chooses you. You can willingly step into discomfort, into difficulty, into the kind of challenges that force you to grow. And when you do, you realize something. Everything you want, the discipline, the confidence, the success, is on the other side of that resistance. You don't build strength in comfort. You don't build resilience by avoiding struggle. You build it by doing the hard things every single day, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. That means waking up early when your body wants to sleep in. That means putting in the work when your mind is screaming for a break. That means choosing the path that forces you to grow instead of the one that keeps you stagnant. Because growth isn't a comfortable process. It's painful, it's uncomfortable, it requires sacrifice. But the alternative, staying the same, never improving, never pushing yourself, is far worse. Look around you. Look at the people who never challenge themselves, the ones who settle for just enough, the ones who spend their days chasing distractions, numbing themselves with entertainment, avoiding anything that feels difficult. Do they look happy? Do they look fulfilled? No, because deep down they know they were meant for more, and so do you. So stop avoiding discomfort, seek it, embrace it, train your mind to thrive in it. Get up earlier than you want to. Push your body harder than you think you can. Do the thing you've been putting off because it scares you. Because the more you lean into the things that challenge you, the stronger you become. And one day, when you look back at your life, you'll realize that the person you became, the discipline, the confidence, the success was built in those moments of discomfort. It was forged in the fire of every hard decision you made, every challenge you faced, every time you chose growth over ease. So the choice is yours. Stay comfortable and stay the same, or step into the fire, embrace the struggle, and become something greater. But understand this. Comfort will never make you strong. Only resistance will. People talk about motivation like it's the key to success, like it's some magical force that's going to get them out of bed every morning, push them through the grind, and carry them to the finish line. But motivation is unreliable. It's fleeting. One day you wake up feeling inspired, ready to take on the world, and the next you don't even want to get out of bed. And that's the problem. Motivation depends on how you feel. And if you let your emotions dictate your actions, you will never achieve anything worthwhile, because feelings are inconsistent. Some mornings you'll feel energized. Other days you'll feel exhausted. Some moments you'll be excited about your goals. Other times you'll question why you even started. If you rely on motivation, you'll only take action when it's easy, when it's convenient, when you feel like it. But success isn't built on convenience, it's built on consistency. It's built on doing the hard things, the boring things, the uncomfortable things over and over again, whether you feel like it or not. That's discipline. And discipline doesn't care about your feelings. Discipline doesn't wait for motivation to show up. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't make excuses. It does what needs to be done no matter what. And that is the difference between the people who succeed and the people who don't. Not talent, not luck, not some endless well of motivation, just the ability to show up every single day and do the work. Think about the most successful people in the world, athletes, business leaders, anyone who has reached the top of their field. Do you think they feel motivated every day? Do you think they wake up every morning energized and excited to put in the hours, to push themselves to the limit? Of course not. They have days where they're tired, days where they doubt themselves, days where they'd rather do anything but the work, but they do it anyway because they understand that results don't come from how you feel, they come from what you do. And this applies to every area of your life. You want to get in shape, you can't rely on motivation to get you to the gym. Some days you'll want to train, other days you won't. But if you only show up when you feel like it, you'll never make progress. You want to build a business? You can't wait for inspiration to strike before you put in the work. Some days you'll be excited, other days you'll be exhausted. But if you only take action when it's easy, you'll never get anywhere. Discipline is what separates the people who dream from the people who do. It's what turns good intentions into actual results. Because there will always be days when you don't feel like it. Days when you're tired. Days when your mind tells you to take it easy. But if you've built the habit of discipline, those feelings don't control you. You override them. You push forward anyway. And the best part, the more you practice discipline, the less you need motivation. Because it stops being about how you feel and starts being about who you are. You become the kind of person who gets things done no matter what. The kind of person who follows through. The kind of person who doesn't need inspiration to take action. And that's where real power comes from. Because when you operate from discipline, you don't have to hope you'll stay consistent. You know you will. So stop waiting for motivation. Stop hoping that one day you'll wake up with this unstoppable drive that makes everything easy. That day isn't coming. What's coming are challenges, obstacles, moments where you'll want to quit. And when that happens, you'll either have the discipline to push through or you won't. And that choice, that habit of showing up every single day, regardless of how you feel, is what will define your success. Life is not going to go the way you expect. You will fail. You will be rejected. You will be tested in ways you never saw coming. And in those moments, you will either break or you will adapt. That's the difference between people who rise and people who stay stuck. Resilience. Not intelligence, not talent, just the ability to take a hit, get back up, and keep moving forward. But resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. It's the product of how you think, how you interpret setbacks, how you frame the challenges in your life. Weak-minded people crumble under pressure because they see obstacles as proof that they're not good enough. They take failure personally. They assume that because something is difficult, it must not be meant for them, and so they quit, not because they weren't capable, but because they never rewired their mindset to handle adversity. But strong-minded people, they see difficulty differently. When they fail, they don't see it as a sign to stop. They see it as feedback, a lesson, an opportunity to get better. They don't waste time feeling sorry for themselves. They ask, what can I learn from this? How do I use this to my advantage? And then they keep moving. And this isn't just about success, it's about survival. Because life will throw things at you that you aren't prepared for. Loss, pain, unexpected hardships. And if your mind is weak, if you've spent your life avoiding difficulty instead of embracing it, those moments will break you. But if you've built resilience, if you've trained yourself to thrive under pressure, there is nothing life can throw at you that you won't eventually overcome. That's the choice you have to make. You can let hardship define you, weaken you, convince you that you're not capable, or you can use it. You can let it refine you, sharpen you, make you stronger than you ever thought possible. But that only happens when you rewire your mindset. When you stop seeing adversity as the enemy and start seeing it as the training ground for the person you are becoming. And when you do that, when you shift your perspective, you become because nothing, not failure, not pain, not fear, will ever have the power to break you again. Who you were yesterday is not good enough for who you need to be today. And who you are today is not good enough for who you must become tomorrow. If you want to grow, if you want to evolve into something greater, you have to be willing to kill the weaker version of yourself every single day. That means no clinging to old habits that keep you stuck, no defending your limitations, no holding on to a version of yourself that no longer serves you. Because the person you were last year, last month, even yesterday, that person had flaws, weaknesses, blind spots. That person wasn't as disciplined, as sharp, as relentless as they could be. And if you refuse to let go of that version, you will never become anything more. Reinvention is not something you do once. It's something you commit to every day. It's a battle between who you are and who you could be. And most people lose that battle. They stay the same because change is uncomfortable. It requires sacrifice. It demands that you destroy the old patterns, the old excuses, the old story you've been telling yourself about who you are. And that is painful. But what's more painful is staying the same and knowing deep down that you never became what you were capable of. So stop identifying with the past version of yourself. Stop saying, this is just who I am. No, who you are is a choice. Who you are is something you build. You either evolve or you decay. You either push yourself to new levels or you slowly fade into mediocrity. And if that thought scares you, good, it should, because nothing is more tragic than watching someone with potential refuse to grow because they're too afraid to let go of who they used to be. So let go every morning, wake up and kill the old you. Burn it down, build something better, because the moment you stop reinventing yourself is the moment you stop truly living. The version of you that is weak, undisciplined, fearful, and full of excuses, that version has to die, not once, but over and over again. Because the life you want, the strength you seek, the discipline, the resilience, the success, it all demands a higher version of you. And that version will never emerge if you keep clinging to comfort, to victimhood, to the lie that you are powerless. You are not powerless. You never were. But power comes with responsibility. It comes with sacrifice. It comes with the willingness to face your weaknesses, destroy your excuses, and refuse to stay the same. And that is not an easy path. It is brutal. It requires you to suffer. It forces you to confront parts of yourself that are broken, weak, and in need of destruction. But that destruction is necessary because from it something greater is built. So make the choice. Kill the weak version of yourself. Kill it today. Kill it tomorrow. Kill it every single time it tries to come back. And in its place, forge the strongest, most relentless version of yourself possible. Because the world doesn't need another person who gave up on their potential. It needs you at your absolute best.